So, prepare to put on your seatbelt. And just to give y'all a heads up, this particular episode is intended for rookie drivers and those running in cold weather for the first time, as well as those dealing with the very situation I'm about to describe, as well as my description in the title. If you are not in this situation, and this is not your first time running in cold weather, please feel free to check out one of my other episodes, like episode number 10-4, which is, or 104 if you want to pronounce it that way, where I do shutter therapy in the stockyards, or episode number 64, where I do rodeo photography, which is obviously my side gig. So, that being said, let's get started on this topic, because I know some of y'all are freezing your balls off out there, or as we say in Texas, freezing your cojones off. And if you're in that situation, I want to help you stay warm by making sure that you can get your engine restarted if your fuel filter plugs up. So I'll roll a meme, courtesy of TxDOT, in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to my channel. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely amazing. As I relax back here in my sleeper berth while my co-driver's going down the road, I want to talk with y'all about a situation my buddy Levi Dawson encountered this morning. By the way, if you're not following him, I'll encourage y'all to go check out his Facebook page. I'll give you a link in the description below. That being said, he had a run into a situation for the first time that I had encountered numerous times over the years. This is a good reason to carry a spare fuel filter, an extension cord, and anti-gel on your truck. If you don't believe me, I'm talking about the situation where your engine shuts down or your APU quits because of fuel filter icing and fuel gelling. I've had it happen to me before, and there's several different life hacks you can use to help keep this from happening to you. From winter fronts and Pampers diapers to plug-ins to having extra clothes and sleeping bags and body pillows on your truck. There's a lot of things you can do to make yourself be able to handle the situation where your APU dies and your engine shuts down a lot simpler than you might believe. And if you don't believe me on this, there's a little book in your glove box or in your jockey box or in your overhead console, and I would encourage you to read that book. It's something called an owner's manual, and there's a lot of helpful information in there when it comes to dealing with this situation. Stay tuned on this episode, and I'll explain where that book's going to come in handy, as well as some extra stuff that you need to consider when you're running in freezing cold weather. Stay tuned. So, you're a rookie driver, you're dealing with extreme cold, and you're dealing with all kinds of trouble. Let's say your APU just died, your standby light's flashing red, and your engine just will not start. What are you to do, and how can you prevent this? First thing, we're going to start with the prevention, because quite frankly, there's a number of steps you can do in order to keep that fuel filter warm and keep your engine going. one of the first things I would do is I would stop using the APU. I would stop using the engine as a primary source of heat. I would rather see you go into a hotel and plug your truck in overnight using an extension cord than to go and be messing around with APUs and with cold engines. Because, quite frankly, keeping the engine warm and keeping yourself warm is priority number one in this situation. Also, running south is a good option. If you can go to a state like Florida or Mississippi, you're much better off. Number 3, if you must run in cold weather, use anti-gel. This will lower the pour point of your diesel fuel from 0 degrees Celsius to about minus 15. Or if you do Fahrenheit like I do, 32 Fahrenheit down to 0 Fahrenheit. And that can make a difference between whether or not your engine starts. So, let's say you've done all those steps, like my buddy Levi did. And you're running your APU all night long because you have no place to plug in, and suddenly you lose your heat, your APU shuts down, and your standby light starts flashing. That is a symptom of fuel filter icing. You may need some diesel 911, but in any case, you need to shut the APU off, try to start your engine, and in order to do so, there's a cold weather starting procedure in your manual. If you don't know where your owner's manual is because your company didn't give you one and they didn't give you a driver handbook to follow, I'm going to tell you right now how to start a cold truck without having to plug in. So, if your APU just died, you want to start the primary engine. And to do that, you key on, let it go through its gauge sweep, then floor the accelerator and hold it there. That's the additional step you'll need in the cold engine. Then crank the key for up to 30 seconds, or until it starts, whichever comes first. It's going to run very rough when it first starts. That's why you need to keep the accelerator to the floor after you release the key. It'll pop, it'll click, and you'll hear it struggling to get going. Because that oil is down in the pan, and it can't get up into the cylinders until the cylinders really start moving. You'll have to do that a couple of times. So make sure you wait between 5 and 30 minutes, depending on what your manual says, before you try cranking again. That way you don't burn up your starter. Now, another thing that you can do right away if you know you're running into cold weather, in order to avoid having to use this procedure, is to make sure that your tanks are full. I didn't say half, I didn't say 3/8, I said full. Because if your tanks are full, there's nowhere for the water to go. There's nothing that the water can condense into when it forms inside your tank. If your tank is half full, there's lots of air and lots of room for that water to condense. And that's what causes the fuel filter icing. Another step you can take to help keep your engine warm, especially if you have an older truck, and it's going to be idling all night, is for you to use a winter front. Some manufacturers offered this back in the day. Some trucks have automated winter fronts, like my Cascadia, as part of their Arctic Spec package. Still, other trucks require you to manually set a winter front. So, if you're going to manually set a winter front, there's two things you can do. The first is to obtain one from your manufacturer. Now, this should happen before the winter season, obviously, and for very good reasons. Volvos are known for this. Macs have this. Some Internationals and Freightliners also have this option. And what it is a piece of cloth that goes over your front grille to block cold air and keep your engine warm. Another option is to use bungee cords and cardboard, which are much more readily available. If you do not have a winter front, this is a great option for you. Take a piece of cardboard and a bungee. Now you want that bungee to be good and tight, so get the smallest that you can and use it to hold that piece of cardboard on your front end. You may also use duct tape to help with this. But be careful so that you don't damage your chrome. So, you attach that to your grill before you go to bed at night. In the morning it should still be there, and then you can just take it off as part of your pre-trip inspection. And that will help you keep your engine warm by blocking the wind from getting into the engine compartment in the first place and forming ice in your fuel filters. Another technique I've heard some drivers do with varying degrees of success is before they shut down for the night, they'll actually go inside the truck stop, buy a pack of Pampers. Yeah, diapers. And they'll wrap a diaper around their fuel filter. That can also help keep the filter warm. And that's a good life hack to know, especially from somebody who's actually ran in cold weather for a very long time before I moved to Texas. And finally, if you have an electric block heater, it goes without saying, plug it in the night before. This will make your starting easier, this will keep your oil warm, and it's much, much safer and much more environmentally friendly than even using the diapers. And if you can't idle, this is your best option, because that way you don't have to run the APU, you don't have to run the engine, and your engine will stay nice and warm. This applies especially not only to diesel trucks, but also if you have an electric vehicle like a Tesla, or if you have the new Freightliner e-Cascadia. Plugging in will also let you run your climate control and your sleeper accessories in some cases. And that, my friend, is the best thing you can do to keep your engine warm when you have access to AC power. But wait, what do you do if you don't have access? Well, if you have an inverter in your truck, you might be able to plug your block heater in that way. Or, a better alternative is to, if you got an APU, plug an extension cord into your APU's AC outlet, and the other end into a block heater. But then again, some APUs already do that for you, and you need to check your owner's manual on your procedure for your truck. And of course, if you got idle air available at your truck stop, that is absolutely the best option if you need heat in your cab and it's extremely cold. That way you don't have to run heat, you don't have to run AC, you can plug your truck in, and oftentimes idle air will have free Wi-Fi or have services like DirecTV included in their rate plan. Now, are there any products that can help you in cold weather? Actually, there are, and it's not just the anti-gel and the diesel rescue products that are out there, but also there are now devices like heated fuel filters, fuel air separation systems, and of course, winter blend diesel, which will ultimately help you in the end. And from keeping this, actually, it'll help you in the end to keep this from happening. So, let's stay warm out there, y'all. I don't want to hear any more frantic phone calls. Do whatever you can to stay warm if you're going to be running in extreme cold. And oh yeah, one more thing you can keep on your truck, and I've got one in my closet. Well, it's in my closet. Go to your local retail store. And I got another one right here too. Get yourself a body pillow. And a sleeping bag. These will also help you stay warm, no matter what the temperature is. I'm Zach Bell. This is Truckin It. Episode number 105. And until next time, let's make your best trip your next trip by making sure you stay warm. Bye for now.